The world is loud, the mind gets louder, but the man who learns to be still becomes unstoppable. You ever feel like your thoughts are racing so fast? You're not even thinking anymore. You're just reacting, panicking, spiraling. Stress isn't something we feel, it's something we become. A creature of habit, of fear, of chaos. We mistake urgency for importance, emotion for truth, and noise for reality. In this world, peace feels like a luxury. Calm feels like weakness, and stillness, it feels impossible. But what if I told you? Calm isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, like a fortress, like a weapon. Here's the truth nobody told us growing up. The problem isn't the world. The problem is your mind's reaction to it. The emails, the debt, the breakup, the deadlines. You don't control any of it, but you can control your perception. You can control how you respond. You can train your mind to stay calm, and if you can do that, you can walk through any fire. This is not about ignoring reality. This is about facing it with your eyes open. It's not about being emotionless. It's about not letting your emotions be your enemy. It's about mastery over the one thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. Most people never learn this. They think anxiety is just who they are. They wear stress like a badge. They survive life like it's war instead of mastering it like a craft. But for centuries, there were men and women who knew better, who faced death, exile, torture, and still held their ground. They called it Stoicism, not a philosophy, a way of life, a mental operating system. In the next few minutes, I'm not going to give you motivational fluff. I'm going to give you tools, ancient ones used in Roman prisons, on battlefields, in courts, in exile, and modern ones tested by psychology, neuroscience, and real-world chaos. By the end of this, you will know why your brain loves to worry, how to rewire the loop of panic, and most importantly, how to stay calm when the world is on fire. You don't have to control everything. You just have to control how you respond, and that changes everything. Before we dive in, I want to speak directly to you. Maybe you're here because your mind won't shut off, because your thoughts keep turning on you at night, because no matter how much you try to stay calm, you always end up overwhelmed. Or maybe you've been here before. To the returning ones, my friends who've walked through storms and still chose peace, welcome back. I see you. I'm grateful for you. This space exists because of you. And if this is your first time here, if you stumbled across this video on a hard day, if you're just now discovering the power of stillness, then I want to tell you something most people never hear enough. You are not broken. You're just untrained. And that can change. If these words resonate, if this space feels like shelter for your mind, then I invite you, genuinely, no pressure, to hit subscribe. Not for algorithms, not for numbers, but so that you have a place to return to whenever life becomes too loud again. We're not building a channel here, we're building a practice, a community, a quiet rebellion against a world obsessed with noise. Now, let's train your mind, not with hype, not with hacks, but with truth. Let's unlearn the chaos and rebuild the calm. We begin inside the mind. Understanding the mind. To train the mind, you have to first understand its enemy. And sometimes, That enemy is the mind itself. You're not weak for overthinking. You're not broken because your mind spirals. You're human, and your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, just in the wrong century. See, your brain wasn't built for peace. It was built for survival, for threat detection, for scanning every sound, every shadow, every silence, for what might go wrong. The neuroscience of worry. And at the center of that ancient alarm system is something called the amygdala. Two almond-shaped structures deep in the brain. Their job? Keep you alive, at all costs. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger in the wild and an unanswered text message, between a battle and your boss saying we need to talk. When the amygdala hijacks your nervous system, logic goes offline, cortisol floods your body, you enter the ancient mode, fight, flight, or freeze. But here's the problem. Most of us aren't fighting for our lives. We're fighting with our thoughts, and we're losing. The default mode network. Even when things are calm on the outside, the mind keeps spinning. Scientists call it the default mode network, the part of your brain that activates when you're doing nothing. But it's not quiet. It replays the past. It forecasts doom. It invents new ways for things to go wrong. This is the loop, the spiral, the echo chamber that sounds like you, but it isn't you. It's the untrained mind, untamed, unquestioned, unaware. There are beliefs planted deep in the soil of your mind that grow into anxiety like weeds. False belief. 1. If I don't worry, something bad will happen. This is the superstition of control. The idea that if you suffer ahead of time, maybe you'll avoid the suffering later. But it doesn't work. Worry doesn't prevent the pain. It doubles it. You live the moment twice. Once in your head, once in reality. False belief 2. I must control everything. Control is a drug, and most of us are addicted. We want to manage outcomes, people, timelines, even how others feel about us. But the Stoics had a word for this fantasy: madness. Because the more you try to control what you can't, the more you lose control of what you can. False belief. 3. I need certainty. This is the lie that keeps you up at night, the voice that says, I just need to know. But life offers no certainty, only choices. The Stoics didn't ask, what will happen? They asked, what will I do, no matter what happens? You weren't born anxious. You were trained to be anxious, conditioned by a world that profits from your panic. Your brain wasn't built for 1,000 notifications a day. It was built to survive tigers, not Instagram likes. What was once sacred, your attention, is now currency, and you're spending it on noise. If you feed the mind chaos, don't be surprised when it grows fear. Most people have never sat with their own mind in silence. Not once, not truly. But this is where the change begins, not in the noise, but in the quiet confrontation with yourself. You're not your thoughts, you're not your fear. You are the awareness behind it all, and when you begin to see the mind clearly, you can begin to train it. We've seen the battlefield. Now let's prepare the armor. Next, the nature of stress, what it really is, and how to dissolve it at the source. The nature of stress. Let's talk about stress. Not as a concept, but as a force, a ghost, something that follows you from room to room, tightening your chest when nothing's wrong, keeping you awake when nothing is chasing you, haunting you even when life is fine. Stress doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears a mask called normal. But what is stress really? You might think stress comes from events, from deadlines, breakups, bank accounts, but the Stoics saw it differently. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. In other words, stress isn't what happens. Stress is how you interpret what happens. It's not the storm outside, it's the storm you allow inside. The dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught what may be the most powerful idea in all of Stoicism, a simple filter for reality. There are things within your control and things outside of it, nothing else. You don't control traffic, or other people's opinions, or the past, or the future, but you control your response, your perception, your values, your choices. When you stop fighting what you can't control, you free up energy for what you can, and that is how peace begins. Euthymia, the quiet confidence. Seneca called it euthymia, a deep, calm confidence, not from arrogance, but from knowing who you are and knowing what matters. Euthymia doesn't mean you never feel shaken. It means you no longer live at the mercy of everything that shakes you. Reframing stress. Here's the shift. Stress isn't a threat, it's a signal. A flare from your nervous system saying something feels uncertain, unsafe, out of your hands. But that signal is not a command. The Stoic doesn't deny the signal. He sees it, he thanks it, and then asks, what can I do right now within my control? And here's the paradox. Calm isn't weakness, it's the ultimate strength. Anyone can panic, anyone can yell, but to breathe through chaos, to stay steady when nothing else is, that's power most people will never touch. Real strength is invisible. It doesn't look like shouting, it looks like presence. The calm person sees clearly. They don't waste energy arguing with reality. They work with it, move with it, respond, not react. That's the work, not eliminating stress, but decoding it, redirecting it, transmuting it into clarity. You will not stop the waves, but you can learn to sail the ship. Now, let's go deeper. Let's step into the philosophy itself and learn how to build calm like a craft. Stoic foundations. We've seen the chaos, we've felt the weight, now it's time to build. Because calm isn't an accident, it's a structure, a system, a way of living. The Stoics knew this, and they built a philosophy sturdy enough to hold a mind together, even as the world fell apart. Marcus Aurelius led an empire from a war camp. Epictetus taught wisdom from slavery. Seneca counseled emperors while preparing for his own execution. They knew stress, they knew uncertainty, but they trained their minds to remain still, not despite the chaos, but through it. And at the core of this training were three immovable pillars, three timeless truths for unshakable calm. Pillar 1. Clarity. See reality as it is. Most people don't suffer from life. They suffer from distorted versions of it. They don't see reality. They see fear, assumptions, stories their mind made up at 2 a.m. Clarity is the Stoic's first weapon, the ability to see without illusion, to strip away dramatics, to ask, what is really happening right now? Not what I fear, not what I wish, just what is. Clarity is the opposite of panic, because when you see clearly, the mind slows, the path reveals itself, and the monster under the bed becomes a shadow. Pillar 2. Discipline. Do only what matters. If clarity is what you see, discipline is what you do. And the Stoics believed this: waste is a form of self-destruction. Most of us burn time. We chase what doesn't matter. We argue just to win. We panic about things that don't move the needle. Discipline is cutting away the unnecessary. It's doing what must be done, not what feels good, not what earns applause, but what aligns with your values. The Stoic asks every day, what is essential here, and then does only that. Pillar 3, acceptance. Let go of outcomes. The final pillar, the hardest one, acceptance. Because we are addicted to control, addicted to outcomes, we measure our peace by what happens, instead of how we show up, regardless of what happens. But the Stoics released the outcome, not because they didn't care, but because they understood. You can control your effort. You cannot control the result. You can speak with honesty, but you can't control how you're received. You can prepare with discipline, but you can't guarantee success. So they let go, not in apathy, but in freedom. Acceptance is not surrender, it's alignment with the truth, with the moment. The practices, thought exercises for real calm. So how do you train this mindset? How do you move these ideas from words into your bones? Premeditatio malorum. Rehearse the worst. The modern world tells you to stay positive. But the Stoics did something radical. They imagined the worst, calmly, consciously. They rehearsed loss, failure, death, not to scare themselves, but to prepare. When you visualize adversity ahead of time, you rob it of its surprise. You anchor yourself before the storm comes, so when the lightning strikes, you've already looked it in the eye. The view from above, zoom out. In the heat of the moment, everything feels massive. The email, the insult, the late train, but the Stoic zooms out. From this height, your worry becomes a speck. Your fear becomes quiet. And what once ruled your mind becomes nothing more than a moment. Memento mori. Remember death. This is the most feared exercise of all, the most powerful, the one we run from. Memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to depress you, but to sharpen you. Because most anxiety comes from forgetting how little time we have, from acting like we'll live forever, from postponing peace for a tomorrow we were never promised. Memento mori is the ultimate clarifier. It kills your excuses, your petty grudges, your imagined fears. It's not about dying. It's about living fully, honestly, urgently. Clarity, discipline, acceptance. These are not ideas. They are armor. And once you wear them, you don't become invincible. You become ready. Ready to face life as it is, not as you wish it to be, not as it was, but as it is. Next, the core tools of calm. How to practice this daily. Core tools of calm. You've seen the pillars. You've understood the mind. But knowledge without application is nothing. Philosophy must be practiced daily, deliberately, like breath, like training, like sharpening a blade. You don't need a monastery. You don't need a retreat. You need a system, a set of simple, repeatable tools that bring you back to center when the world tries to pull you off course. The 5-minute Stoic reset. Start here. When your chest is tight, when your hands shake, when you feel the spiral starting. Step 1. Breathe slowly, deeply, In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth, again and again. Let the noise fall away. This is not a trick. It's biology. Breathing is how you signal to your nervous system, I am not in danger. Step 2. Ask the Stoics' most sacred question. Is this under my control? If the answer is no, release it, right now. Let it go as if you were setting down a weight you were never meant to carry. Step 3. Say aloud, let me focus only on what I can do now. This is your power, the next right thing, not the outcome, not the what if, just the now. In 5 minutes you can return from the edge and build a calm strong enough to carry you forward. B. Daily Stoic journaling prompts. The mind left unobserved becomes a trap, but when written down, it becomes clear, honest, manageable. The Stoics journal daily, not about events, but about perception, reaction, control. These are the questions to ask. What am I worrying about that I cannot control? Naming it dissolves its grip. The mind quiets when truth is written. What is truly essential today? Focus is freedom. Most of what we chase is noise. Let it go. What would a wise person do here? This question is a portal. It lifts you out of the emotional moment and into perspective. 1 page, every morning. That's the work. That's how calm is built, word by word, choice by choice. C. The mental quarantine, scheduled worry technique. Some thoughts are sticky. They refuse to leave. They keep knocking, hour after hour, interrupting your peace. The Stoic doesn't chase them, he contains them. You schedule your worry. Give it a room, a time. You say, I hear you, I will meet you later, but not now. And when that time comes, you sit with the thoughts, write them, face them, ask, are you still real? Are you still useful? Most of the time, they're not. Contain the chaos. Choose when to face it. Don't let it choose you. D. Inner citadel visualization. Marcus Aurelius believed this. Inside every human is a fortress, a place no chaos can touch, a place no insult, loss, or failure can reach. He called it the inner citadel. It is the mind, trained, guarded, anchored in truth. So now, we enter it. Close your eyes, breathe, and follow the voice. You are standing at the gates of your own mind. The outside world is behind you. The noise, the news, the demands, all of it fades. You walk through the gate. Inside is quiet, safe, strong. These walls were built by your values, your discipline, your self-respect. Here, no insult reaches you. No failure defines you. You are not your mistakes. You are not your emotions. You are the watcher, the builder, the flame. You sit at the center of your citadel, still, unshaken. The storm rages outside, but in here, there is only breath and clarity and choice. Stay here as long as you need. Return whenever you forget who you are. This fortress is yours, and no one can take it from you. You are not your panic. You are not your past. You are not the world's noise. You are the builder of your inner calm. And every day these tools are yours. Next, we enter the real world and put these tools to the test. We've learned the tools, we've practiced the breath, but now we step into the real test, into lives where calm wasn't an idea, it was a necessity, where Stoicism wasn't philosophy, it was survival. A. James Stockdale, the Stoic in a cell. Imagine this. You're shot down over enemy skies, captured, beaten, and thrown into a North Vietnamese prison for 7 years. No phone, no news, no comfort, just a mind and a philosophy. Admiral James Stockdale was a Stoic. Long before the crash, he had studied Epictetus, the philosopher who had also once been a slave. Stockdale remembered that every day, as he was tortured, isolated, broken down, he built what he called an inner fortress. He taught his fellow prisoners how to hold their minds, even when their bodies were under siege. And when asked years later how he endured, he said this: "I never lost faith in the end of the story." James Stockdale. That's what Stoicism gave him, a belief that he couldn't choose the plot, but he could choose his character. B. Viktor Frankl, Freedom Inside the Camps. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist and a prisoner in 4 different Nazi concentration camps. He lost everything: his family, his wife, his home, but not his mind. He saw something most people never see, that even when everything is stripped away, you still own the space between stimulus and response. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. That space is what Stoicism trains: the pause, the clarity, the choice to stay human, even when the world forgets how to be. C. Seneca, Peace in Exile. Seneca once stood at the center of Roman power, advisor to emperors, master of words, until he was exiled, stripped of titles, banished from the city he once ruled. And yet, he did not collapse. He wrote, he reflected, he crafted wisdom in solitude. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Because even in exile, the worst pain came not from the world, but from his own thoughts, and he trained himself to master them. To the Stoic, hardship isn't the enemy, it's the training ground. D. Modern Stoics. Calm in the fire. You don't need to be a philosopher to be a Stoic. You just need a life and the will to hold still inside it. In a world built on reaction, calm is a weapon. In a profession where every second counts, panic costs lives. So they train the mind, not just the muscle. She doesn't cry. She doesn't rage. She breathes. She holds the line. She becomes a citadel. And in the chaos of legal battles, of uncertainty, of loneliness, she clings to one line: let me focus only on what I can do now. This is Stoicism, not cold, not robotic, but trained, emotional mastery through honest reflection, calm, not as a mask, but as a muscle. The Stoic doesn't wish for an easy life. They prepare for a real one where hardship is expected and character is everything. In the end, the most dangerous person in the world is the one who cannot be shaken. Next, the daily battle, how to build resilience every single morning. Daily mind training. A single moment of calm can shift the course of a life. But real calm, unshakable calm, isn't born in a single moment. It's trained, forged, like steel in the fire of daily life. The Stoics weren't passive observers, they were practitioners. Every day, they fought to reclaim their minds from the noise of the world. Every day, they trained for stillness, for presence, for courage. And so now, it's your turn. Not someday, not when life slows down, but now. For 7 days, you will train. Not your body, not your career, but the one thing that touches every part of your life, your mind. Day 1, the control audit. Start here. Draw 2 boxes. On one side, what I control. On the other, what I don't. Most of your stress lives in the second box. Let it go. Every morning, remind yourself where your power begins and where it ends. Day 2, daily death meditation. For 5 minutes, sit with the truth that one day you won't be here, not to scare yourself, but to wake up, because when death becomes real, so does life. Write down what you'd do differently if you remembered that time is not guaranteed. Day 3, Stoic Journal. 3 calming truths. Think of what's bothering you, the stress, the fear, the loop in your head. Now, write 3 things you know to be true. 1. I've faced hard things before. 2. This will pass. 3. I'm not alone in this. These are your anchors. When the storm starts, return to them. Day 4. Stoic Role Model. WWWME. Ask yourself today, what would Marcus Aurelius do when your patience is tested, when you want to react, when silence feels hard? You don't need to be perfect. You just need a compass. Day 5, discomfort practice. Growth hides in discomfort. So today, do one thing that stretches you, that makes your heart beat a little faster. Not recklessness, but courage. Eat alone. Say what you mean. Skip the scroll. Get honest. This is how you prove to yourself, I can feel discomfort and still act still. Day 6, thought surveillance. Today, you catch the lie, the thought that shows up like truth but isn't. I'm not good enough. They're all judging me. This will ruin everything. Is this true? What's the evidence? How else could I see this? Reframe it, not with blind optimism, but with reality. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Day 7, view from above. Now zoom out. That argument, that mistake, that fear, how big is it really? Imagine yourself 5 years from now, looking back on today. What would you tell yourself? What would matter? What would not? 7 days, 7 challenges. Not to escape life, but to finally step into it with both feet and a steady mind. Next, we'll talk about what happens when life hits again, when you forget, when you fall back into panic, and how to return to the stillness within. You will not control the world. Let that truth settle. The weather will change. People will misunderstand you. Plans will fall apart. The future will ignore your predictions. But even in the wreckage, there remains one thing you were born to govern: your mind. It is not weakness to feel. It's not weakness to hurt. But it is weakness to abandon yourself the moment life doesn't go your way. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't posture. It's found in stillness. The man who doesn't need to over-explain, the woman who doesn't panic to prove, the soul who doesn't need to win to know their worth. Stay calm when others panic. Say less when others shout. Think clearly when others drown in noise. That is power. There is a war inside every modern person, a war between reaction and response, between fear and focus, between who you've been and who you are meant to be. And the only way to win that war is to practice every morning, every night, in small decisions, in silent battles no one will ever applaud you for. A man getting out of bed when he doesn't feel like it. A woman deleting an angry text she'll never send. Someone sitting in traffic without the need to curse. Someone letting go of control and choosing peace. Calm is not weakness. Calm is a sword. And when your enemies are noise, confusion, fear, and doubt, stillness becomes your greatest weapon. The Stoics weren't untouchable. They just understood something we forget, that the mind is a muscle and peace is a practice. You don't need a perfect life. You need a practiced one. You've seen the chaos, you've felt the storms, but now you've been shown the way through. Not to escape the storm, but to walk through it unchanged. The world will keep spinning. The noise will rise again. You will be tested again and again and again. But the question is no longer, will the world change? The question is, will you? And now you have tools, breath, reflection, journaling, perspective, philosophy, and above all, choice. The world has enough noise, enough panic, enough people who collapse at the first sign of difficulty. Be different, be still, be ready. A soldier preparing gear in silence, a writer lighting a candle before words, a teacher sitting calmly before the bell, a man walking away from drama, a mother holding her child with both hands, no phone, no rush. Let the others chase chaos, let the others speak just to be heard. But you build your inner citadel. You choose discipline over comfort. You choose awareness over anxiety. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. Every day from here is a new rep, a new opportunity to train, to pause, to breathe, to respond, to master. The only thing that has ever truly been yours, your mind. If this video helped you, even just 1%, if you felt something settle inside you, if you caught even a glimpse of the power that lives in a calm, trained mind, then don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your life is drowning right now, in noise, in panic, in fear of things they cannot control. You could be the hand that reaches back and says, "Here, this helped me. It might help you too." That's how this grows, not with trends, not with noise, but with truth, passed hand to hand, soul to soul. And if you found something steady here, if this space gave you breath, clarity, stillness, then stay. There's more. Subscribe to this channel, not for the numbers, but to stay close to the fire, to come back to the work day after day as we train together toward mastery. This is not just content. This is a commitment to choose awareness over anxiety, calm over chaos, philosophy over panic. If you're ready to go deeper, I'll meet you in the next one. Be calm, be precise, Be ready.